Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back once again. This is the Wrestling Paradox Podcast. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. I got Chris and I got a special guest for everybody tonight inside the Paradox, stepping in red hot, the blue chip, none other than CCW's own BoTayvian. BoTayvian, welcome to the Paradox, my friend.
Dude, you even said it right. I didn't know my last name was so hard to say. I was like, Tayvian? It's Tayvian.
Tayvian. BoTayvian is in the building. How you feeling tonight, Bo?
Good, man. I had to reach out to you guys because I saw Cheesecake Charlie and the Child of Flight on here. I'm like, wait a second.
Whoa, did you say Child of Flight? I got to back you up.
Go for it. What's up?
You said Child of Flight was that?
Oh, Will Austin, King of Flight. So he's one of the young guys. And, Child of Flight.
Child of Flight. Will, you heard it, man.
No, honestly, those guys, it was hilarious to me watching your guys' podcast. I appreciate it because one of the lessons I told them on the side, I was like, dude, I got to get on there, explain this one. So you ask like who is the young up and coming or blah 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 from CCW that they think is on the rise, and nobody even mentioned me or remembered me. I'm like, oof,
that hurts.
Wait a second, I'm one of the biggest guys on the roster, like physically, and nobody said anything.
They were scared. They were there.
Like,
you're
well,
a little
maybe,
man.
But it taught me something because I believe they both mentioned Benny Blanco.
Yes. I keep hearing about this kid. Can you talk about it? Can you give us some input?
Yeah, it's the little dude from Harlem, the little white dude with the puff out.
Okay.
Love him to death. And the reason you guys remember him is because he doesn't shut up. And his persona is here. Like the kid, like he's cool. Like honestly, like the CCW, I love everybody there. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a face. Genuinely wrestling wise, it's awesome. Blanco's personality gets him noticed, and now the ring work has to catch up, and that's cool. But I was like watching, I was like, ooh, who are these guys going to say? What are they going to say? Our roster is growing, and we're getting better and better talent. Mm-hmm. So that was neat. Just that I like to research and study everything. Like I studied you guys about those just to see what you're going to throw at me. But the same token, it's like, ooh, you gotta have thick skin. I was like, okay. So it really taught me a lesson that I need to kind of amp up like either my personality or make even more of a presence known so that when those things happen, I actually get a mention. Not that I want to shine, but it's still like, wait a second. I'm literally the second biggest physical person on the roster. Nobody said anything.
Well, see, Bo, I'm going to be honest with you. I definitely recognize you as Summer Glory. I definitely recognize you after that, some of the matches from Nashville, things like that. You were on the list. No disrespect, we had like one or two other people that we were looking at the time. And again, no disrespect, you were on the list. We were coming at you. We were just giving you time to prepare. We wanted you to continue to watch and say, man, what are these guys going to throw at me next? And, that's where we're at.
It's funny, between my wrestling personality and my actual personality, I literally don't ask for much and I stay quiet. So, like, wrestling, I have to, like, turn everything up a notch. You guys aren't friends with my shoot profile on Facebook or anything, but it's like night and day.
Is it really? Well, I'm going to ask you tonight to turn it the fuck up.
Yes. I saw that. You were asking that from Will.
This is your time. This is my interview. This is my podcast right now. This is BoTayvian's podcast. This is the blue chip spot to be at.
It's one of those things where I got back into wrestling from 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I started again in April. So, like, my wife has never seen me wrestle. She saw some on my VHS tapes.
Tape trade them.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually way older than I look, which is great.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
Wow,
you're not that much older than I am.
No.
Oh, yeah,
you're only a couple years older than me.
I'm 32 tomorrow.
Yeah. Every time, like, sometimes I take it a little bit easier because I'm achy and all that. It's not that I need to survive to get it to, like, Nashville that's coming up in October. So sometimes, like, we're in there Monday, Wednesday, and I'm in there on Sunday as well. And then Tuesday or Thursday, I do some cardio work. Dude, my body physically needs a break on top of I'm actually in the gym. A lot of indies guys, unfortunately, aren't in the gym on top of in the ring. and you can
Well,
tell.
this is going to be my first question, and my
Sure.
first question for you is, who is BoTayvian, and how and when did you get started in this business? Because you have a past, you have a history, and you got some fucking stories. So I before we get to the stories, I want to know, who are you? Who am I talking to right now?
Yeah, so I wrestled 15 years ago. I'm from Tampa. So in college, one of the guys, I've always watched wrestling, much like you guys.
Mhm.
Like I've always watched wrestling. Grew up watching Benoit, Guerrero, Lesnar, Goldberg. I always wanted traps like Goldberg and Lesnar.
I
So
think you succeeded.
My best friend literally like calls me trap guy from USF. Because I was in the trap bar just shrugging all the time. If I wasn't deadlifting, I was shrugging. So I was doing powerlifting. I was still athletic. I played rugby in college. And one of the guys is like, man, you kind of look like a wrestler. Do you wrestle? My high school didn't have an amateur team. In college, they had a club, but I was already playing rugby. So I'm like, eh. And then one of my friends is like, hey, let's go down to Steve Kearns if you want. I'm like, what? Like Steve Kern is the FCW, the WWE agent.
That's a big name. That's a big
I'm
fucking
sure
name.
Very big
Yeah.
name.
So I'm sure like you guys know, and by now with all the documentaries, everybody knows like he was one of the premier coaches in FCW, led into NXT, etc. So this was 2003, 2004 time period. And down there at Hard Knocks, and I walk in there, and Steve Madison's in there. Mike Patrick from Dirty Blondes, he's in there. I had talked to Test at the bar when I was security, Andrew Martin.
Mhm.
Yep.
And just Tampa is kind of the on top
Wrestling
of
hub.
bodybuilding. Yeah, it's wrestling.
Mhm.
And before they moved to Orlando, of course.
Right.
So it was one of those things. I talked to Steve Kern, and I was like, how much does it cost? And man, he threw me a number, and I'm like, oop, I'm a college kid. I don't know about that one. So I came back one more time. I met, Steve Madison at the time was their main guy. There's Buck Quartermain running around. Lex Lovett was, do you guys remember Lex Lovett?
I know the name. I don't know the.
Yeah. So TNA Impact, like at that time, NWA Florida was like the big one.
Mhm.
And then TNA Impact got the TV deal and all that.
Okay.
So you had Scoot Andrews, Lex Lovett, Jarrell Clark, Fidel, the Cuban assassin, like all those guys.
I remember Fidel. Yep.
Before MVP, there was Antonio Banks.
Yep, I remember him.
So that's kind of the environment. And then you had Roderick Strong, Cedric Strong, Bruce Santee, like that whole group, right? So Steve Kern graciously said, hey, if you can't afford this, maybe go talk to Lex. He's running a school in Brandon, which is 20 minutes south of Tampa. And I was like, okay. So I went down and talked to Lex, and I was pretty much his only student. So he had Eric Stevens and Roderick Strong and me.
Wow.
In a side thing of like this cheerleader school, because Lex is a cheerleading coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool. We had a wooden ring, and every big suplex, we broke it and had to go to Home Depot. So like now being in like a high spots ring with metal framing with still wood and not having to go to Home Depot after every big move, it's a little bit better at CCW.
those are some big names. I mean, Eric Stevens and Roddy Strong.
So Roderick Strong, I was with Lex for about 3 months until he folded the school. And then I went out to St. Pete with FPWA. They graciously took me in. And that was just kind of Pat McGroin and another Pat. It was like two Pats. The same.
Did you say Pat McGroin?
Yeah, his gimmick was Pat McGroin, and this is before Cancel Society. Or Joey.
That is the best fucking ring name ever.
Yeah. So this is the Indies before censorship, man. There's a lot of stuff that happened.
Yeah. Well, there was the wife beater. The wife beater was one of them in Indy. I mean, like.
So Jerome, who was in college in the dorms with me, he and I kept going out to St. Pete on the nights. And then eventually we started working shows at Bourbon Street, Gasper's Grotto in Tampa. And then met David Mercury, Eddie Torres, who just got his shout out to Eddie for his AEW Dark debut. That's awesome. And just, it was different environment, man. You travel everywhere. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. There was MySpace and LiveJournal. There's no Instagram. There's no YouTube. You can't really create a brand. Like now, like I was telling you guys, I can on my BoTayvian profile, I can act as BoTayvian, and on my shoot profile, I can stay myself. So it's a totally different environment. And how and why I left, I almost got paralyzed.
Jesus.
So that's 22 years old, finishing up my college degree. I took an inverted pile driver. I helped the guy a little too much, and we spiked on my head, which when my hair is short, you can see the cartoon knot still.
Holy shit.
So when it happened, all the workers rushed out. Like if the workers rush out and it's not planned, you know it's bad. And and then into the ropes, and you could just see me hyperventilating. I didn't know what was going on. So if I didn't have these traps, I'd be in a wheelchair probably.
Holy shit.
So on top of that, a lot of the workers didn't even come over and show human concern, which stunk. Like I'm actually like, if you guys ask me if I'm a face or a heel, like in real life, I'm probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. In wrestling, I'm still a face. Like it's just, I try to treat people right and just be likable. But for me as a human to almost be paralyzed and have nobody really ask or check on me, I was like, this sucks. And then for $20 in the ring, I paid to get trained properly. And sometimes I could just feel I was in the ring, not with trained people or just backyard type feel, et cetera. Not in that instance. Like the guy who did that is still training. He's still working. He's awesome. In fact, when I came back April, May, he rolled in. I visited Mercury in Tampa, and he rolled through. I was like, bro, just so you know, we don't have heat. I probably was at fault too. He's like, I figured you didn't have heat. So like we squashed it right there. And so I told him, I was like, let's get that in on a storyline eventually. Like the guy who almost ended my career, now I want payback.
Right.
There you go.
So I worked 2 more matches after that. And this was in a time period when guys were doing flippy stuff. You had Jack Evans. You had Pete, who's the Canadian guy?
Petey Williams.
P. Williams.
Yes. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Easily.
You had him.
Best Canadian destroyer in the business.
Yeah, before it became a common move. Good grief.
God.
Oh, come on. Don't come with the heat.
Thank you, BoTayvian. I am going to Nashville with your fucking name painted on my chest. Okay?
Bro, you can keep the shirt on. I'll find a way to get you a shirt.
The Canadian destroyer is the worst move right now.
So
is it not?
Here's my thing. As a worker, it looks so devastating, but it happens so much. I'm like, that can't be as devastating as it looks.
Thank you.
Right?
The Sweet Chin Music was devastating only because Shawn Michaels was the only one throwing it.
Look, if I ever get to talk to the Young Bucks, I have the Cornette syndrome with them, I guess.
Oh, thank God. I love this fucking guy.
Dude, a finisher should be a finisher, and if you use it 5 times in a match, ugh.
Dude,
but now, honestly, to me, super kick is no longer a finisher. It just isn't.
No, it can't be. All right, so Bo, now that we got that out of the way and we know who we're talking to now, we know who BoTayvian is, let everybody know where they can find you on social media for your Twitter, your Instagram, whatever you got. What do you got?
Right now, because I'm not popular, quote unquote, BoTayvian on Facebook, add me. I don't care. That's literally my worker profile. If you're within the first 5,000, whatever, Facebook, add me. Don't care. Say hi. Interact. The worst thing you can do for me as a person is to literally acknowledge my existence but not interact.
Right.
Dude, I'm not. We're all 3 of us on this podcast are human. If you bring some value or entertain me back, I will entertain you.
There you go.
You know what I mean? When people no sell a message out of respect, just be like, "That's cool, bro."
You hate talking to me, bro.
No matter who inboxes me, I at least try to acknowledge them and be like, "That's cool. It's not really my thing, but thank you." It's not an impolite politeness, as I call it. I just literally, you took the time to message me. Until I have The Rock's inbox, I can only imagine what that is.
Dude, I actually went and I bought the WWE I Collect belts, and WWE released a limited of 100 Rock belts for every day for 3 months, and to this day still going. I messaged The Rock on Instagram and Twitter asking him to sign this for my son, and to this day I have not gotten an answer, but I'm hoping one day I'm at 260 messages.
I know we have a limited time, but I have a funny bodybuilding story about The Rock.
All right, so let's get into it. All right, real quick.
Do you want to hear that one or no? It's real quick.
Do you want to move into it now? Let's get it now.
No. Just so I was bodybuilding in 2014, and I'm in the pump up room with the super heavies because I'm like 230, 235 on stage, and I'm pumping up, and like this dude just cuts through quickly, tall, skinny, kind of like just I'm doing a push up, and I see him. I'm like, who the is this guy cutting through our pump up room? Come to find out, it's The Rock.
Oh shit! That's
all
awesome.
of us idolize The Rock. I'm like, only I would be like, who the F is this guy?
Yeah.
I'm in pump up mode, and like he's around, like I'm 5'9", everybody else around me is 5'7", and all this, and this dude's 6'2", and he's not as big as he was when he was wrestling. He's like 225. So his trainer was in the show too, and that's why he cut through. So that's
Gotcha.
my. Who would say who the F is this guy about The Rock?
Now, let me ask you a question. Even if his trainer wasn't in that show, would you still been like, who the fuck? Like, why are you walking through here?
I literally was that way. Like,
no, but what I'm saying is, would you still been like, I don't give a fuck, you're The Rock. Don't cut through our show.
Right.
It wasn't in that context. Like, I wish I had recognized it and at least be like, bro, what's up, man? Like, give him a dab or something.
I'm a wrestler, man. Help me out.
Dude, throw a working punch at him.
No, like I was literally just in game mode. I'm like, I literally just did not recognize a guy I grew up idolizing. Oops.
Just tell him you're one of his cousins. He has 100 of them. He won't even recognize you.
Right, yeah.
All right, real quick, who is the one person in any company that BoTayvian can have a match with, and it's 5 stars, hands down?
So I like to think that I could fly a little bit. You guys think? Well, you did see me. I jumped over Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So for a big guy, I do have hops, and everybody talks about my springs. For any, the most underrated worker right now to me is Johnny Gargano.
Yep, hands down. I've loved him on the Indies. I mean, all his stuff in PWG and Ring of Honor. I mean, just hands down was probably the best wrestling in the late 2000s, early 2010. It was probably one of the best wrestling I've seen personally.
I can just imagine being in the ring and he would just fly circles around me, technically speaking. Just, okay, what's up, little dude? And he would make it work.
Right. And like, he's got 2 speeds. He could do the flip fly and
he's got psychology. Underrated.
Then he can go technical, know. I mean, just a couple of months ago, I don't know, it wasn't on Great American Bash or In Your House or something like that. He put the Rings of Saturn on with like a twist, and it was
him and Swerve was sick.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, just to see him, it brings a different taste to wrestling now. It's just like Kip Sabian to me. I love Kip Sabian. I think Kip Sabian is another underrated wrestler.
He's off TV right now. I don't know why, really.
Oh, because his tag team partner got fired. So let's just say that.
We'll bring him back as a single or get him in with somebody.
Dude, and his wife's way hotter. And his wife's way hotter, and she's getting the shine now. So
yeah. So other than that, like, it's cool because Pablo is pretty close to RVD. I grew up watching RVD. In fact, if you saw Summer Glory, I accidentally did his gimmick. It was just so natural. I'm like,
hold on. Pablo's close to RVD. Sabu is going to be in Nashville in October. Is RVD going to show up in Nashville?
I honestly don't know RVD.
I'm just spitting. I'm fanning out now, bro.
I'm fanning out too at the possibility of it because I was thinking this coming on the podcast and all that. Like RVD, I don't know his implications with Impact right now. He did visit CCW a few months ago. I wasn't there yet. So one of my moves is a follow-away suplex into a Rolling Thunder without the roll. So just call it Bo Thunder. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I literally just follow-away slam, and then I hit the ropes, and then come over and do a front flip senton without his roll. And that was kind of derived from RVD. His coast-to-coast is always cool as long as it's not Shane breaking feet. So I think RVD would be who I personally, if I have access to work a match and they give me the responsibility and the respect to do that, I think that would be neat. A lot of pressure to have a great match, but I think that personally that'd be just neat. Yeah. Because obviously I can't get in with Benoit or Guerrero, which are the 2 I most idolize. But yeah, I think Gargano would make some sort of something, and RVD would be fun. Explosive power-wise, if Lesnar beat me up, okay.
I was gonna say, if you had to choose a bigger guy, who would that bigger guy? I mean, was it just Lesnar straight out, or is it someone like Keith Lee, who's, like, I mean, Keith Lee's you're a big guy, BoTayvian. There's no doubt about that. You are a big dude.
He's just way
Looking
bigger.
at someone like Keith Lee,
You're talking football size, right? So I'm like a linebacker, and the dude is like a D tackle who can move like a linebacker.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
legit, not even work rate. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. You being a big guy and you're seeing all the stuff that he's doing, like, where do you stand with that? Where are you like, man, are you like in awe like the rest of us? Or?
So this is, I was talking to my buddy about this. The wrestling athletes, like, it's unbelievable what these guys can do now. It used to literally just be ground and pound. A leg drop was a finisher, and that was for a reason.
Right.
Now you're watching, like, even Vince Steele, like, fly out of the ring, and that's a 400-pound dude.
Right. To get through the ropes, by the way, to get through the ropes is something precision. Like, if you also, if in Ring of Honor, when Keith Lee was in Ring of Honor in like 2014, 2015, 2016, he was tag team with Shane Taylor. I think Shane Taylor was more athletic than Keith Lee, and he was a way bigger guy.
Yeah, it's in realms of where I am in comparison to those guys. They're in the pros for a reason. I'm still in the indies, and mind you, I'm 4 months back after a 15-year hiatus. So,
right.
Yeah.
But you want to know what? Don't knock yourself. Don't knock yourself. No. I like I told you earlier, I love the indies. I'm an indie mark.
So here's what happened, right? So I'm on Facebook talking trash to Jerome and James, the two tag partners from 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And one of the promoters hit me up, and this is why I'm back wrestling. He literally hit me up and he said, "Yo, it looks like you have the itch again." I was like, "Hell no, I'm not going back to wrestling." and then it started churning because almost all my friends, like, they understand, like, I own a supplement store, I have a business, I'm married, like, and just I had moved past wrestling, right? So all of a sudden the wheels start. Ooh, a reunion show. Okay, let me hit up everybody in my Rolodex that I used to know. Hit up David Mercury, Eddie Torres. Those two guys are the greatest people as far as humans to just always tell you the truth, and that's what I respect the most. Like, please don't butter me. Don't tell me I'm good if I suck. And those two, I was like, yo, I'm almost contemplating a reunion. And should I actually come back? And they're like, with your look, you should actually consider a comeback.
There you go.
And so that's kind of why I came back. Mercury put me in touch with Pablo because I live down here in South Florida now instead of Tampa. And Pablo just open arms. I have no idea what Mercury told him or whatever. I walked in there and Pablo was just that way.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, man, that's what we're here for.
When we get off of here, I want you to hit us up with your supplement store because, believe it or not, myself and Chris are probably in some of the best shapes of our life.
Sure.
Because Chris at his heaviest was almost 330.
No, I was 307, and this morning I got on the scale and I was 234.3 since November 27th.
Okay.
So a couple years ago, I was weighing in at about 305, 310. And now I'm walking around healthier at 239.
That's awesome. I'm always happy to hear those stories, especially doing it on your own.
Let us know where your supplement store is because I'd much rather give you my business than GNC.
Absolutely. We could break the fourth wall for that. I don't have a website because I do prefer brick and mortar or conversations because a lot of times people sit in their underwear and pick stuff out that has nothing to do with their actual goals. So I've been competing since 2005. And I just prefer to help people. So my store is New Standard Sports Nutrition. That's breaking the fourth wall, whatever. But by all means, hit me up if you guys have any questions. I'd rather get your business too. If it's a product that I don't carry and it's cheaper for you, I will tell you that as well. If you look at all my reviews, everybody's like, dude, this guy, I blow so many sales because I'm too honest.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see you every 3 weeks than take you one time and be like, that guy is a shark.
So it's almost like you're running it like
brick and mortar has to be service. It has to be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, breaking the fourth wall. I'm a store manager of a paint store, and yeah, exactly. And I have customers come in with competitor they did this paint. I'm like, well, that one's way better than what you were looking here. I would definitely stick to that.
Yes. I run it just like you.
Yeah,
Like
it's
literally, if the formula makes sense and I don't know dirt on the manufacturer, if I know dirt on the manufacturer or the owners, I'll tell you that story and be like, no. Like pixie dust is what we call it in the industry. If they promise you this and it's really this, don't do it.
right.
I'm
It's
a
almost like
pharmacist.
it's almost like you run your business how the wrestling industry is, to where now it's no, not like that way nowadays. But back 15 years ago, it might have been the Carney, like,
Oh, okay.
you see what I'm saying?
Everybody's in on it. Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, I
To
got
where
you.
now it's more of a family oriented, like
Yes.
the promoters have your back. You're running your business kind of like the promoter has the wrestler's back.
Yeah, I think Joe wanted to touch on that difference of 15 years ago versus now.
Yeah, that's one of my questions. If you
Yes.
like, we
Yeah,
could say, yeah,
that's a
I'll
good
ask,
segue for it.
Heck
yeah, I'll ask right now. Like, so Chris, go ahead and ask him.
Compare the wrestling industry from 10 to 15 years ago to where it has become today.
Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit. I think it's way better athletes right now, and that's just across the boards in all sports. If you watch ESPN Classic, you see slower football players. You see like Keith Lee literally doing backflips.
Right.
So athlete-wise, way up there. Training school-wise, a lot of these guys that are retiring are actually giving back and doing more schools. So I think there's more schools. Network-wise, you have versus MySpace and LiveJournal. Dude, I have access. Like I literally was in. I was trying to message a few people to see if I can get different bookings today, which 15 years ago you couldn't even do. Like you had to ask somebody if they had their number, like their ground line.
I listened to a Shane Helms interview.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I remember he was on with, I believe it was Sam Roberts' podcast, which is a podcast I look up to. I love listening to him. I think he talks great. But Shane Helms was telling me, he's like, man, he's like, back in the day when I wanted to go to Japan, I had to literally send my tape to Japan. Didn't know if it got there, and then had to wait for a response in the mail.
Yeah.
And he's like, when they finally respond, they wanted me to work with Gary Albright. He's like, I'm not getting my ass kicked by Albright.
Yeah, and you already passed it.
Yeah, he's like, I'll wait for Jushin to Liger or something.
Or you got booked elsewhere, and then you're done. You're past it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so
now literally it's like I'm trying to get my YouTube up, which you asked previously. It's just BoTayvian. Just find me at BoTayvian. It's Tayvian. It's literally the only Tavian name in the whole world. I designed it. It's a cool name in my opinion, and then all of a sudden Kip Sabian became a guy. I'm like, ooh.
That's Chris's boy, man. Don't fuck with Chris's boy.
No, but I was like, okay, because I literally, as I was coming back, I was like, should I? Oh, we lost Joe. Nope, we lost. Yeah.
No, his camera.
Okay. So I asked people on Instagram, if I come back, should I be BoTayvian or should I be Bo Norris? And it was almost all the old workers said keep Tayvian, and almost 50-50 on new people saying Bo Norris is kind of cool, but isn't that like Chuck Norris? I'm like, well, yes, that's the gist. Yeah. If COVID-19 wrestles me, it puts itself in quarantine.
There you go. That's a gimmick right there.
Right. But I can do all the Bo Nose stuff. Like I can do all of the Bo Nose gimmick with either Tayvian or Norris. But Norris will be in my back pocket if I ever make it WWE and they don't like the Tayvian name. Okay, let me try Bo Norris.
Bo yeah.
Yep.
Was nobody gonna tell me my mic was off the whole time?
No, your mic wasn't off.
Your camera went.
Your camera's
off.
No,
I just plugged in my microphone like 2 seconds ago.
Oh, we heard you.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm
You're back. Did you have anything to say in on the Bo Norris BoTayvian gimmick?
No. I'm right along with you guys. Go ahead. Go next.
Bo, throughout your career, who has been the most influential superstar that came in to do a seminar or a seminar that you've attended that gave you the best advice?
Okay, so that's interesting because 15 years ago, Steve Kern is just knowledge. He doesn't get enough respect. If you ever have, so after I was done wrestling, he was actually at the gym that I worked at, and he and I talked like normal people instead of workers. And I think a lot of old timers appreciate that when you can turn off wrestling and just be a human. In fact, I've heard RV, I wasn't there for when he came, but I've heard he's that way too, that he prefers not to talk so much about wrestling. And to a degree, I'm that way with bodybuilding. It depends on my audience, but a lot of times in my home life, I don't really like talking about bodybuilding anymore. I'd rather focus on wrestling or football. Like I was texting you guys about Dynasty football. But Steve Kern would be one that if you ever get a chance to talk to him, by all means. At CCW, we have access to Bill Alfonso. Awesome about cutting promos. Since I've been there, we've had Robbie Stone. He's coming tomorrow night, actually. And he's quirky. He knows personality, and he just shoots you straight when you work.
Bob Stone from WWE. Did you say who you said?
Yeah. NXT.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he was there a month and a half ago, and he gave us all good pointers. MVP is who you guys. I know you guys. So my time around him was literally in the locker room as Antonio Banks. He broke my nose.
Was that shoot or work?
So his finisher used to be a back Kapora kick. And we did it in NWA. We did a white boy challenge. They fed me, Mikey Batts, and like 3 other like white guys to him. And again, this is
before cancer culture.
This is before everything going on right now. I'm sure people would love a white boy challenge right now. But I don't think anybody should touch that. So literally, they fed me in. I think he shot me off the ropes. I took a spine buster or took a kick to the gut, and he back Kapora kicked me straight in. And I have a big nose. Like, so side profile was I'm ugly, you know?
Chris feels your pain.
Yeah. You can like flip my nose and it'll start to bleed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So
it's almost like Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's the same way. I mean, like, he does a moonsault and he comes up, he's bleeding from his nose. It's just
and opposite that, like my roommate in college, I played soccer with him in high school, and he literally, I played soccer, by the way.
Rugby and soccer. Jeez.
Yeah. It's if you see my body now versus like I was 180 whatever. I was still athletic and big even in high school, but dude, he would take so many shots to the face and he would never bleed, and I was like, you can flick me and I'll bleed. I don't understand, but that's just how we are. But so seminar wise, I'm that type that if you bring, even if we brought you in to talk wrestling, I'm going to sit there and have notes jotting in my head about what you have to say. If Benny Blanco, one of our rookies, talks, and that was my lesson that I want to tell you guys. It taught me that Cha-Cha and Will have been in the game for 4 to 5 years, and they literally notice him more than me. That tells me I need to step my game up in certain ways or become more of a persona to where I stick. And I'm always looking for lessons no matter who I'm talking to or what I see. And then I had a chance. It was awesome. We went up to Mineola, which is near my true hometown, Claremont, and we got to eat lunch with Ricky Santana. Ricky Santana has been a WWE agent and everything, and he just was telling us story after story. And I just sat there and listened. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Hey, can you do us a favor? Can you plug our show to Robert Stone tomorrow?
Yes, I will tell him. I can't tell you if he's interested or not, but
no, I highly doubt it. But just tell him we hate Shotzi Blackheart too.
Cool.
And just tell him both of our names are Joe. Let's just say that. Both
there you go. There
you
go.
He's on his 3rd tank.
Dude, I feel so bad for him, man. They just fucking but you know what? He's on TV every week. He's getting 2 to 3 segments every week. Like, he's living it right now.
He's
is awesome.
one of the few managers right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, managers
and he knows that, and that's what he talked to us about. Like, he actually was an accomplished worker in Japan and all of that, and now
in TNA,
TNA, Robbie E. Yes.
So he's a really cool guy. If you walk by him in the grocery store, you wouldn't even know.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, it's just that the superstar of then in the 90s versus now is just night and day. Like, if I walked by Johnny Gargano in Publix, I wouldn't even know. Roderick Strong, same way. Like, I was in the ring with him, and the last time he and I hung out was 2011 at his dad's bodybuilding show. And Roderick responded to my text, gosh darn it. Literally, okay, here's a respect thing, and this is why I touched on that a little bit. If I have a history with you and I'm not the type to burn bridges, if I reach out to you out of respect saying, yo, I'm back wrestling, do you mind if when people ask me if you train me, you either tell me no and I keep it kayfabe out of respect, be like, yo, this green guy, I don't want my name on him, or yeah, go ahead, man, good luck. Either or, tell me. So he didn't respond at all, and I see a little bubble. He read it for sure. Whereas Lex Levitt, opposite of that, I hadn't talked to him in 15 years since I left the school, and he's like, "Dude, do what you gotta do, man." And definitely enlist Roderick too. He was there. He trained you.
Right.
So
Yeah,
and
at
of
this
course,
point, if you don't tell me no, I'm just gonna do it. It's easier to
Yeah.
get forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
that's
always
what they
learned
say,
from my
right?
parents.
Do it, and ask for forgiveness. Yeah. Also, I'm that way that if you don't want your name on me, then I don't want your name. I don't want my name on you.
Yeah.
If you, because I'm the type of person that most people are proud to be associated with. So if for some ungodly reason you're not, okay, then we're done. So
Well, I can tell you the Paradox is very, very proud to have you inside tonight.
appreciate
so.
that. No, it's gonna be fun if I actually find my way into NXT enhancement or something. Be like, "What's up, Rod?"
Yeah, what's up, buddy? We have a thought on the whole Roderick Strong thing right now, and I've been on the whole thought of UE kicking out Roderick Strong, but Chris is now saying that Roderick Strong is going to make the turn himself, drop out, and go after Adam Cole once Adam Cole re-gets the title. So I think that's a better spot for him, honestly. Like, all right, so Roderick Strong didn't answer out to you, but are you happy or proud for Roderick Strong for what he's doing?
110, absolutely. When he made it, I was like, when any of my old school guys like Eddie making AEW, I love it.
Yeah,
like I'm that way. Like, okay, cool. Like Roderick has his own life, he made it before he and I sat at the bodybuilding thing. I'm pretty sure. 2011. I don't know how long he's been with the Fed, but it was awesome. I think he reached out to him then, or at least wrote it on his shoot profile. I'm that way. If you're doing good for you and your family, awesome. Because my chapter with you, it might not have been a permanent chapter. I'm not supposed to. It's just like any of your exes or anything like that. Like you're in waves. You're not supposed to be in everybody's life forever.
exactly.
So, and I don't have, to this day, I don't, like the guy that almost paralyzed me, no heat. Like it happened. I was a part of it. It was a 50-50, yeah, it's just, I'm just that way. Like I have very few regrets and I don't hold grudges. Like there's no reason to. It's wasted energy.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna hold a fake grudge with Cheesecake Charlie. Get settled in our underwear.
Yo, let me tell you, man, this is awesome. I love
honestly,
our show. Our show is producing so many storylines.
Your podcast with Chacho was awesome because I didn't know his backstory, being a camera producer, dude. And
you didn't know that? Yeah.
Oh, like you got to remember, I'm new to them, like you guys are. I'm 4 months in, so I'm learning all these things. I'm like, this is cool.
Then he plugs his car insurance. He's selling insurance.
That was awesome too. That was a real plug.
I'm like, oh my god, like what's going on here?
Yeah. No, I was texting them while that was going on. I was texting them both. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get on there too.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for reaching out to us, because that makes us feel like we're doing good at what we do. Because for someone that we had our eye on, and that being you, and then for you to jump the line and say, no, you need to interview me next. That makes us feel great.
No, and I don't typically do that, but I know that I can see when something's growing. And then your guys' points about Cody. Hey, Cody, put me on your guard,
you're watching.
I know you're watching.
Bro.
I mean, it's the craziest thing ever. Like
I saw, and you were right. Everything you've said has become a T-shirt or an idea or whatever. It's like, but
the
here's
sweet
where
life
you guys,
of Matt and Cody. I'm fucking pissed right now.
dude, this is brilliant though, because you guys named it Wednesday Night Wars, and I wrote. I'm sure you guys followed my Facebook. I literally said, if you're not watching the other brand or anybody in your competition who's on the rise in such an industry where everything has to be monitored and improved, then you're doing something wrong. So I promise. They are probably they probably have people to watch everything. And AEW looks more on top of it publicly, social media wise, than WWE does.
Yes.
Like everybody is on social media like crazy, but it looks like AEW is a little bit more interactive. In tune.
WWE has a corporate board they have to answer to. AEW answers to Tony Khan.
Corporate board or one person, sir?
I mean, you have a board of directors you have to follow. It's a publicly traded company now. Like if Sonya Deville rips out her tits, then 6 guys sitting at the table need to talk about it and say what's wrong with their company. So it's things like that. AEW can pretty much what they want. That's why they're saying shit and everything else on every Wednesday. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of AEW, there's a lot of heels and faces right now, and a lot that are in the middle. Where do you see yourself, and where do you work better as?
So 15 years ago, I was a genuine baby face, like pretty well liked. I was in with the 2 tag. Like we used to just do 3-on-3 matches all the time, and I was like their enforcer. I had kids ask me to autograph their forehead.
I'm gonna tattoo it later,
Dude, I'm like, it's literally BO. You want BO on your forehead? And the kid's like, yeah, man. I'm like, I've never signed an autograph in my life, and here I am signing a forehead. BO.
Now, wait. Now, did they ask you for BO on their forehead and then go ask Pat my groin to put it on, like on the side of their temple?
Dude, Pat McGroin drew so much heat. There was absolutely no autograph love.
They had BO and Pat my groin on their face. Like,
hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
You would probably draw a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why I love indie wrestling.
Yeah.
It's just like the kayfabe names, the worker names. It's just
Dude, it's the interactions and why I came back. And like my wife, she was funny because like I'm very even keeled and just quiet a lot. Like I'm cerebral. I'm Scorpio, so like I'm just thinking.
You're tactical. You're tactical.
Yeah,
That's all.
and you can tell like I'm strategic with my word games. I love wordplay and being funny in that way. So to answer, eventually I think I could be a really good heel because it would allow me to say stuff that I wouldn't normally say, and it would also allow me to interact. Whereas as a baby face, in fact, one of the criticisms of the Summer Glory, somebody came and you guys were there.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said I did 2 or 3 things that were somewhat heelish. And if you remember, I took a time out and just sat there resting.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just chilling.
Yes. So like, that's what, and again, we talked about it, touched on it a little bit, and we didn't know who you were. So you just coming in, there was no backstory. So to see you just stand in the corner, take a time out, let them do their thing, it portrayed to us that you were a heel.
Yeah.
You played on the heel. That's why that was one of our questions. Like, are you a heel? Are you face? Or do you like to play the heel? Or do you like to play the face?
Yeah. So
because we know heels make more money.
You say that every podcast, by the way.
Yes, I do.
Oh, so that's cool. I hope to see that soon.
That's why Cody's gonna come back as a heel when he returns.
Yeah.
He took our advice.
So on our roster, and I was going through our roster with Pablo and just learning it, and I'm like, dude, there's not many heels on our roster. What's this about? And then in the indies, there's kind of the stigma of it's hard to tell a story, but opposite of that, we could tell a story on social media. So if you see my Facebook profile, I'm doing heelish things. My main heel gimmick will be we are not the same, and I'm literally poking fun at, like, so in my shoot life, I literally help you guys lose weight. In my working life, my wrestling life, I'm going to be making fun of my physique, Mr. Perfect style.
Yeah.
I have a better physique.
Of course. Of course.
You're Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful. That's all. You're Paul Orndorff.
So David Mercury and Eddie Torres both thought when I came back, I'd be an instant heel based on the new persona of like not of body shaming, and just me having on the roster the better physique than most indies.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, dude, you're coming back as a heel. And then with CCW, they're like, no, you need to be a baby face and get everybody to like you, because what's not to like you about you? So I do believe I could be both. I've always been a face, but I'm leaning more and more creatively towards heel.
Now, is it tough in this industry, like now? You see it on TV with AEW, NXT. I mean, the other shows that I don't watch, and even is it tough to portray a heel because heels get over as faces?
Yeah, so it's funny because you got Jericho, you got MJF. Like, people are wise to the game now, so they actually enjoy Jericho and MJF. Like, I love MJF.
One of my favorite. I have my Burberry scarf right there. Right.
And you have the Alex Ocean CM Punk Great Value joke. I'm sure you've seen the Miz versus MJF comparisons.
Yes.
Yeah. So Alex threw that at me because I'll cut text promos on Alex, and he's like, "All right, they're Great Value, Miz." Like, I usually wear the Bohawk, which is the Bohawk, whatever. And he's like, "Dude, I was
The
like,
Bohawk."
And I have kick pads, and I was going to do the yes kicks. And
Don't
I don't
do
think
the yes kicks.
Ocean didn't know I was going to do that. And he's like, all right, baby Miz.
Oh,
I'm like,
gosh.
Dude, I don't know what I was thinking that night when I went after Alex Ocean. I just saw him and I said, "You're that guy. You're the guy I'm going to go after." It was so easy because of the tattoos across the chest.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the white tape and the black trunks. It's
and
there.
now that I know who Alex Ocean is and I've seen his matches and I've watched him jump off 30-foot ladders, the guy has all my respect in the world.
He's going to get typecasted, and it's going to be a shame if it happens.
What do you mean?
When I walked
to be a deathmatch wrestler,
when I walked into CCW, two things happened. I'm way smaller now than I was. Like I walked in there at 250, 255 as a bodybuilder, and now I'm like 235, 240 as an athletic wrestler again. It took the 4-month transition, and the first thing I did, they had me do a headlock takeover on Jackal, and my tricep popped. I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. But the thing that after that happened, I sat there with ice on my arm and I'm watching, and Jackal and Alex Ocean to me were clear cut the two workers there.
Yeah.
So then I show up another night, and Alex and Jackal again led the camp. You could tell they're the workers. And then I find out Alex is a gosh darn deathmatch guy. I was like, what?
Yeah. Fucking nuts,
What?
man.
Because here's the thing. The guy wrestles. He can work. He can go. He's got the best cardio in our school. And you won't see that because he's flying off of tables or flying off of offices into tables. And it's, to me, with Havoc gone, and I'll text Alex this, and you guys need – Cody, if you're listening, sign Alex Ocean. He's your new Jimmy Havoc, and he behaves.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing because of the fact that when Alex was we told Will, we told Charlie the same thing is Alex was our first interview. We didn't know what we were getting into, and the first 10 minutes it was kind of laid back. We were and then all of a sudden you can see him break out of his shell. He's like, "Can I cuss on this?" And we're like, "Yeah, go fucking head." And all of a sudden he just was the cool, calm, and collective. And then he went into the whole death match, and I was like, "Wait, you're a deathmatch wrestler?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah. Look up my stuff." And, I mean, he gave it – I actually bought IWTV. I pay for it monthly just to watch him.
I did too.
Gold's Bar. And, I mean, he wrestled Alex Colon, who's the biggest deathmatch wrestler, and he put him in the hospital.
Yeah. Dude, I can't stand watching those matches, but because Ocean does it, I watch it. And here's the cool thing. I get to talk shit to him about it. I literally like, bro, did you really? It's like,
Did anybody see that big thing that he pulled out of his fucking finger the other day?
We were talking about all week, and you guys reposted it actually. Like,
yes.
I was like, dude, something's not right with that. And he's like, I think something's still in there. And finally he took it out.
Oh my
Dude, that's
So,
crazy.
by the way, if any of you deathmatch marks really love that stuff, he sells anything that gets impaled in him. He sells it.
What?
It's the best idea, and I'm a marketing major. So when he told me he's shadow boxing and shipping it to people, brilliant.
Dude, that's
Amazing.
Which
awesome.
you can, if a promoter doesn't pay you enough, but you have shrapnel in your body and it covers your hospital bill, do it.
Yeah. And I was telling my wife after the podcast we did with Alex, I told my wife, I was like, I showed her the stuff, like, oh, this is what he does. He's a deathmatch wrestler. And she doesn't watch pro wrestling. She thinks it's funny, laughable, and everything like that.
I saw you said that.
She watched every minute, not even just Alex's match, just every minute. Casanova Valentine, shellac, them throwing light tubes at each other. And I'm laughing, and she's like, "This, I can't look away. Like, this is awesome."
And I watched the David Arquette. Did you guys buy it yet?
No, not yet.
I haven't got to it yet.
So
it is on the list.
They touched on his deathmatch thing where the shrapnel like went up in the air and then hit his jugular.
Yes,
I didn't even know that story.
Yeah, I actually bought that. That was GCW in New York or Boston or something.
Yeah,
and he was Nick Cage.
Dude, they even highlight what the media said about it. He wasn't viciously attacked directly. It literally like exploded, went up, and then came back in at a bad angle. It was like not what the media, and I can't stand that part of it. Like he wasn't attacked viciously. It was so.
And you could see the match. It wasn't supposed to end. He was sitting there holding his neck, and he just laid there.
That's amazing for Arquette to go back and finish that.
Yeah, he just laid there, and he was like, "I'm hurt. We need to go home now."
Yeah. So Alex is a great character in that if he's really into something, you can tell, and if he's not into it, you can also tell.
and you know what though? It's great is he's only been in the industry for what 4 years, 5 years, 3 years maybe, something like that.
3 to 4.
and look at how athletic he is, and the promise that he shows, and how he dips his toes in the different match.
And he and I get along, and this is the kayfabe, whatever, fourth wall, whatever you guys, whatever term you got. He and I get along because he's an exercise science major.
Okay.
And nobody knows that. So he literally trains people too. So he and I are always going back and forth. Like, we frown upon pre-stretching before we do activity because it can elongate your muscles and set you up for tears.
Mhm.
And people are like looking at us like, and he and I are on the same page. A lot of times it's like, okay, you got this weird tattooed guy with a clean guy that doesn't have any tattoos. They're both into exercise. It's a
That's
deathmatch
crazy.
guy and a mat guy.
I have a theory on that too, because I was, I played football, and everything like that. And I always say that hamstring tears or pulls and ACL tears are always because everyone stretches too much, and also the field. I think it's AstroTurf, going from AstroTurf to natural grass, AstroTurf, natural grass. You see a lot of tears on the muscles, joints, bones, everything.
It's the new turf.
Yep.
Because there's extra grip in that new turf that your foot stays while your body goes. And we're also bigger, stronger, and faster. So if you're planted, you don't have a prayer.
Right. That's why you don't see a lot of injuries overseas in rugby.
Correct.
Because I love rugby sevens.
Did you play?
No, I did not play.
I was an inside center, so
I was drunk one night, I think in like 2011 in my apartment, and I turned it on, and literally I couldn't look away, and that's why
my other cat.
And I just couldn't look away, and I did research, and everything. Everything's natural grass over there, so you see it clump up, you see it, everything. It does, nothing sticks.
Yep.
Also, another, side note is I actually did a science project and paper on this. Is if you ever look at from the early 80s to early 90s, all NFL quarterbacks, most of them, has a child with a birth defect. I think it's from licking their hands and the fertilizer in the grass.
That's a stretch, but I can go with that. Hey, Joe, did you know you're on with two dorks?
What's up, guys?
Chris and I are both science dorks, so
I love history. I love history. I love science. I just
part of if and when I go heel, I literally have to play into what everybody thinks I am, which is opposite of what I am. Like, I got to play into the meathead and the jerk thing, and it's like, okay.
Dude, you should go off of that. You should bring back like an 80s, 90s heel,
I study Mr. Perfect a lot right now, literally.
Mr. Perfect, Paul Orndorff, it's all about me, I think that's what pro wrestling's missing is the gimmicks from the 80s and 90s with the athleticism now.
Gosh, I'm getting attacked by my cats.
Well, that's actually funny that you say Mr. Perfect, because my next question was, I was going to ask you, you watched wrestling in the past, obviously, and who was your wrestling idol? Who was that person that you watched growing up? You tried to mirror, you tried to imitate that style. Who was it?
We're not supposed to talk about Chris Benoit.
That's Oh, Chris Benoit? Yes, that guy.
Just not so that was
we're not signed to anybody. Fuck it, we're freeloaders, man. Talk about them.
So I wrote, this was in the MySpace days when that happened, and remember, it wasn't until the next day that they found that out. I wrote I wish I kept it. And even my dad reached out to me. He's like, I had no idea you idolized the guy like that. So for me, it's Chris Benoit. I don't condone what any of that. In the ring, Chris Benoit.
Who he was in the ring and what he did outside allegedly what he did outside of the ring. I'm sorry, I'm still a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not going to get into it, but I have my feelings about Chris Benoit and his innocence in that. But what he did inside the ring and who he was outside, they say, is two different things. It's not fair to criticize his in-ring performances because of a disaster at the end.
Yeah. So from the power side, Lesnar and Goldberg, before they started botching stuff.
Oh, they almost paralyzed Undertaker. Goldberg did.
Yeah. And then Guerrero and Benoit, and on the mic, Jericho. So that would be my 5.
There you
awesome.
go.
That's a great Mount Rushmore, so to speak.
Sure. And then let's throw RVD in so we can make that happen.
There you go.
I'm going to talk to Pablo tonight and be like,
we reached out to Pablo for an interview. I'm waiting for that.
He and I talked about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very nice.
We've talked like you guys as much as you talk about us, we talk about you guys. So
That's so fucking awesome, man. I fucking love it, dude. Oh my God.
Dude, we're
I figured I'd
marking.
make your evening with that.
Dude, we're marking out. Like it's like,
That's awesome.
Well, hey, Blanco told me he's on next.
yes, he did. He did reach out on YouTube, and
yeah, he's different because he's not. He's
you know, and
he's
I'm
new
excited.
to working. He's new to
Yeah.
working, but you'll get a good podcast out of him.
That's that. See, we were a little nervous because there's not a lot of. All right, so Will Austin played football with my brother. I knew who Will Austin was before wrestling, and for him to get into wrestling, and I didn't know he got into wrestling until as of recent. I'm like, holy shit, this kid's amazing. Still, I had that personal connection with Will, so it was very easy to go with him. With Blanco, we don't know a lot about him because he's so new to the business. But I've watched a couple of his matches. That outside match that he had, where they were outside wrestling in that parking lot.
it was Nashville. It was Nashville.
Yeah, it was a pretty good match, man. I was very excited to see it, and it looked good.
With him and Santana.
Is that
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
So Santana, like I said, we're upgrading from when I even got there. Andy's come a long way because with COVID, he was able to not work as much, so he's able to drive down and train more. So from the time I got there, that's Andy English. From the time I got there until the time we were in the ring, he improved dramatically. And then Blanco probably got there a month before me. Santana came probably a month after me. And as soon as Santana walked in there, and you just know when somebody's an athlete, man. He does kip ups out of nowhere. He's got long, lanky limbs. He was a defensive end. And so we were pushing for him and Blanco to just and their match in Nashville was better than what we saw the prior.
Now that match was outside during the day, right?
Nashville stunk for me because Andy and I had a lot planned.
And it rained.
A big power thing. So what happened is sequence of events started about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then it started raining at we started at 5 or 6. Started raining at 7. Cha-Cha's match was the last one before the rain was too much. And then Pablo and Super Crazy were out there sliding around. I was like, are they selling how slick it is, or is it that slick?
Yeah.
And then St. Patrick and Will had their indoor in the Granite facility hardcore match, and then Ocean and Jackal had their hardcore match.
How many people were at that show? What was the gate?
Prior to the rain, I think it was probably 100 people. It was, dude. There was a spot when Venetius came out and destroyed Leroy Butler, and the crowd chant. And I'm watching it. I try to watch every match if I can. That's old school. But the gorilla setups, and we don't have technology to be able to watch it on a monitor. So I try to inconspicuously. If you go, you probably saw me at Summer Glory. I was literally off way to the corner just trying to watch everything.
Yeah, on that back wall, everybody was hanging out on. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So it breaks kayfabe a little bit or whatever, but to me, it's important to watch and learn and also see what the crowd reacts to. And
is this next show outside? I'm sorry.
No, it's inside at the same venue.
Good.
Because Nashville, for some reason, didn't want it inside. And you guys are driving up, right?
Yeah, we're driving up. We're hoping.
You should. Yeah.
One of us at least will be there.
The fact that it's inside now is, to me, just guarantees you're going to have a good show. Because as that rain came down and as I watched Pablo and Super Crazy slide around, I'm like, oh gosh. And they're like, Bo, do you want to work? I'm like, I flew up here. I paid for a hotel and this and that. Yeah. And I need highlight. Like for me, I don't know when you're going to touch on this, Joe, but for me, because I'm older and because every time I hobble into the house, my wife's like, is this worth it? I want to be on a main roster with a big contract within 2 years.
There you go.
Whether it's AEW, WWE, Impact, any of those three, that's the goal.
What about like a New Japan? How would your wife feel about, hey, honey, I just got a call. New Japan is signing me. I got to go to Japan for the next year and a half.
Based on who I am and what I value more, I think I'd rather do a few matches there. It would be an honor to get the call, but to sign a big contract and to move to Japan, I don't think I could.
Well, you don't have to move to Japan. They got the dojo in California. That Rocky Romero runs, and they do.
Are they running shows out there?
Yes, they're doing. It's on New Japan World.
Okay.
And it's was it New Japan Power Cup or New Japan America or something like that.
Yeah. I think ultimately for me, AEW would be the dream because I think they allow the creativity, they allow the worker to do his thing. And big man wise, I think I told you guys this off air. When I was coming back, I was like, I'm in a prime spot because nobody looks like me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I discovered Brian Cage. I'm like, oof.
Yeah, but
Not only does he look bigger and better than me, but the guy can move like a cruiserweight. I'm like, oh boy.
But you want to know what though is like I can see you fitting better. I mean, yes, you want to be in AEW because that's the prime spot right now. I don't care when anyone says AEW is the prime spot. I can see you working better in Impact.
At Impact, I've thought about that, and that's I'm not close to any ideas. If it makes sense, and the compensation for what I put my body through is there, and I'm not trying to big time it or anything like that. What we do, I can already tell I'm knocking years off my life. Again. Of all the stupid things I keep doing with my body, here we go again.
I want to rewind for a second and ask you
Sure.
a question. We asked about the house in the gate in Tennessee.
Yes.
What are you guys expecting that gate to be now with Sabu, who is, I would say Sabu is a bigger star in the States than Super Crazy at this point.
So when we put that poster up, everybody inboxed me and they're like, yo, Sabu still wrestles? I'm like, yeah.
Somebody
Sabu
asked us that question on Twitter, and I was like, he's still the same suicidal, homicidal, genocidal.
Yeah, he's been closely associated. Him and Pablo go way back.
Okay.
So getting him is always a treat. I think it could be him versus Ocean or a three-way with another guy. Him versus Ocean, if Sabu shows up and wants to put the game on, I think that could be match of the night for sure. And I don't even like
What's
that
the
style.
gate? What are you guys expecting? 200-300 people more?
So now that
or?
we were back up there, now that it's inside and people were promised, like, so what we did when it started raining was all of us as workers said, we can't leave a bad taste in Nashville's mouth. We want them coming back on good terms. And I think with St. Patrick and Will doing what they did, and then Ocean doing his thing and Jackal just taking – did you guys watch it?
Oh, yeah, I did. First off, it was a dive off an office on a plastic table.
I'm in the background like, huh?
And I don't remember. Did the plastic table break or did it just slide? And
All of those tables kept breaking weird. They were plastic and they weren't gigged or anything like that. It was just a weird night.
Yeah.
Andy and I went back out in the ring. The issue was I don't even think half the workers knew we were back in the ring, and then there was only like 15 people left, and we were quote unquote. We went from being match 5 to like the main event, and one of the agents was like, "Just throw punches and take it home." I'm like, No. If I can
that's
move,
not what we're fucking doing, bro. That's not what we're fucking doing.
And then I got back and I asked Mercury for his feedback. He's like, "You all should have taken it outside the ring or done a hardcore match." He's like, "I'm not following Alex Ocean off the top of an office with another hardcore thing." And Andy and I are two of the older guys on the roster. I was like, "No." So we did what we could. The paint on the canvas came up and we're sliding around, and like even the ref, she's like, every time you guys went for a move, I was just bracing for your ACL. And like I picked Andy up like 3 times.
Jesus.
Like I did a belly to belly. I did try to set him up for my Bodog, which is like F5 into a Bulldog, which was what I finished him in Summer Glory. And then my knowledge bomb is a neck breaker thing. And I didn't even have enough traction to get him on my knee. So I just like it was horrible. If you go back and watch it, all the workers respected what we got done with the horrible conditions. So to answer what we expect in the gate, now we have traction in Nashville. We have more publicity from Twitter. I would love to see 150 people to 300. That'd be awesome. Anytime you get more than 50 people in times like these, it's great.
I mean, Summer Glory, they were turning people away, and it's like,
man, that facility was awesome. I just wish and you guys were there. We could have gone deeper against the walls.
Yeah.
And there was extra drama there that we didn't need. So moving on,
Gotcha.
it did its job. CCW is one of the only wrestling, like we're making that calculated risk, right? We don't ever want anybody to catch it, but we also need to get back to action and develop our brand and stay working.
Well, quick plug by the CDC. Apparently, there's not that many cases.
I saw that.
So
I'm the science dork, so
yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Bo, let me ask you a question, man. Like, where are you at in 5 years? What are you doing?
So obviously, hopefully signed within 2 years. And if it's good enough contract and I get over with the fans, maybe still wrestling. But I would love to be in the dance, make an impact, and you know, within 5 years, maybe get on with family life.
There you go.
But you got, I mean, dude, you got guys that have done it way longer than me, way better than me, like AJ Styles, even Shawn Michaels for the longest time. So there's ways you can protect your body and still do it for a while.
So you say 5 years family life, but do we still see you as a producer, an agent, somebody for CCW, training?
I think
Teaming up with Pablo and training kids at CCW. I mean,
if
that be an option?
If I'm in this area and I'm in the I'm a loyalist to a fault, and CCW and Pablo have treated me well. So I even told them like I'm that guy that if my home base, if my wife is still here in South Florida and I'm on the road traveling, I'd be that guy that comes back just to check out the school on Mondays or Wednesday nights. If I, you know what I mean. I as a shoot profession, I coach. So, you know, I coach people in their diets and posing and bodybuilding and all that. So I can't turn the coach off of me. So if I became a good enough worker in his eyes to help out at his school, I'd probably open that.
There you
know, I'd be open to that type of thing.
Can the Wrestling Paradox podcast ever come do a sit down during a training session at CCW?
I'd have to get permission for that, but we honestly, we run it. And I saw on one of your podcasts, you guys didn't even know it was a school.
We didn't. That was Alex Osh's podcast. So I did not know it was a school. I thought you guys were Ronin or
we're very open doors to anybody interested enough. It's not really like we're not trying to pull the curtain back, so to speak, to have you like see us work our matches if it's pre-planned. But guys like you that now obviously you're helping us build our brand, that's an easy ask.
Dude, to know that we're doing that, like you guys have no idea what you're doing for us, and to know that deep down you guys are telling us what we're doing for you, that's awesome, man. Thank you.
Any publicity is good publicity to a degree, so it's kind of and you guys are open and you're fans of wrestling, and oftentimes in what you've done, there's obviously no agenda from us. You guys are just saying what you see, and that's the coolest thing for me. Tell me I suck. Like, okay, you didn't remember me, but did my leap over Andy into the Bodog, was that cool or not?
Oh yeah,
yeah, no, definitely.
Like,
I don't know where.
Pop, so I was like, oh, that's cool.
I don't know where we blew up at. I don't know where it came from. One day we woke up and we were like, I called Chris. I'm like, Chris, there's like 1,300 views on this fucking video. Do you know what's going on? And he's like, no. And next thing I know, the next video has like 1,000 views. And I'm like, all right, Chris, who's fucking pranking us? Yeah. Like, what the fuck is going on right now?
It's kind of, and like you guys are doing your thing with the Wednesday Night Wars, and you're the only ones that are doing that right now that I know of. So anytime you have a platform and you get ahead of people, you're in a good position.
Yeah, it's a gimmick. Okay, like we talked about science. It's the algorithm. It's the algorithm.
110%.
It's the keywords. That's what I told Joe.
It really is, because guess what? Like now I have zero. You see my Twitter. I'm not a Twitter guy. I'm a Facebook dialogue guy, and on my personal IG I do memes. So like my BoTayvian character hasn't even started. So, but now I'm getting you guys. I'm getting a few others, and like everybody's hopping on Ocean's clout, as they say. So anytime you're associated with something that's popping off hot, you're gonna get looked at.
Oh yeah.
And if you have attention grabbing stuff like Will Austin talking trash in the first 30 seconds, now they want to see what this kid's about. Child of Flight, whether you like him or not. Like, so he's a funny guy because he can go. Like, he's got a good motor. He's an athlete. He's got the balls to take high flying stuff that like I won't take half the risks he takes. And like when I've worked with him, sometimes we go over spots and he wants to overcomplicate. I'm like, bro, just calm down. Like a simple punch works good here.
Just don't get in the corner and stand on top of him and hit 10 punches, because that's the most.
I saw you say that. And that resonated with me. It's like, why would you not just drop the leg?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the worst move ever.
Yeah, but when you have a crowd behind you, it makes sense. Just like the yes kicks. Who was anti yes kicks? Was that you, Chris?
No,
Same thing?
that
Oh,
was Joe.
that's me. That's me.
That's
So
Joe.
you're anti-punches and Joe's anti-yes kicks? Like,
Yeah. And
Like,
anti-Canadian destroyer.
no. Destroyer as a finisher, I'm good with.
Yes.
No.
What?
No. I mean,
Why?
Destroyer. No, I'm sorry. Destroyer as a finisher for P. Williams, I'm okay with.
Yes.
Destroyer
But
for anybody else, I
Dustin
can't
Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes right now.
watch. Did you not watch our show yesterday?
Oh, the review?
No. In the first 10 minutes, I am burning that fucking Destroyer.
Really?
It is. I'm sorry. He's too tall. He lost too much, and it's not a bad thing that he lost a lot of weight. But now he looks awkward body build wise. And his Canadian Destroyer, the way he does like the pumps before he goes, I'm not a fan.
You critique the living crap out of that, and I'm a worker, and I don't even look at it that
See,
hard.
that's what I tell him. I tell him that all the time. I
I'm sorry.
go, man, you're just over it.
Like,
you're
first
just-
off, you're 110% correct. He's not a true full-on athlete. He is a wrestler, and that's so going back to it's interesting to me, especially being out of school, when somebody comes in, they don't watch wrestling, they played zero sports, and they say, hey, I want to be a pro wrestler. I'm like, what? But that's where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is, and people can make it. I don't ever want to like poo on somebody's dream, but it's like it just blows my mind. Like, dude, my first word was ball. Every single childhood photo of me, I have a ball in my hand. Whether it's a football, a baseball, a soccer ball, I am just always sports. That's why I'm the blue chip, the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody, like, we had one guy, and he was taking bumps and he was fine. But I'm like, dude, this is a different type of game. Like, it's mentally tough. Physically, you're going to get worn down. So if you didn't play sports, oof.
If you're not used to it, if you're not used to the vigorous you're putting your body through and everything like that, you're not going to get over it. You're not going to make it.
And just like the championship mentality, and this is what Ricky Santana taught me. He's like, if you ask somebody if they played on any teams and they didn't play any championship teams, what do they actually know? And I was like, that's valid, because you don't know that next step. You know how to play the game, but you don't know how to elevate your game to get there.
Wrestling's almost a team sport because you and the other guy have to protect each other and work with each other. And that's what with the Canadian Destroyer, it's not an offensive move. It's a defensive move. The guy who's on defense, who's taking the move, is doing the fucking move.
Here we go.
Is doing the move. Am I wrong? Have you ever taken a Destroyer?
No, and that's why I looked over to Ocean one time. I was like, is that move as easy to take as it looks, the way people are popping it off?
Because the guy is doing a backflip. He's the one jumping back. It's not the guy doing the front flip. You're not going to see Brian Cage sell it. You're not going to see BoTayvian sell it. You're not going to see Brock Lesnar sell it. Brody Lee's not taking a Destroyer. Like, come on. I'm sorry.
It looks cool, though, Joe. It does look cool.
It does look cool.
It looked cool when P.D. Williams did it to Amazing Red. That's when it looked good.
Yeah.
I miss TNA. And if you can't tell, I'm a huge Cornette guy. I am a part of the cult of Cornette. I am a
Shut up, Jim! Shut up, Jim!
He has Cornette locked in his basement in Florida. So it's just who I am as a fan. I grew up in the 90s. I am a 90s kid. I grew up in Monday Night Wars. All I watched was WWE or WWF and WCW. And then I got into Florida Championship Wrestling, and I got into Mid-South, and I got into all these other promotions, and it's just I was a kayfabe fan. I like good guys and bad guys. I don't like Kenny Omega eating breakfast with Lucha Bros on a Sunday morning. That's not what I'm here to see. I want to see you guys fucking hate each other.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Type of fan I am. That's the type of fan I am. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Go Cornette. My dog Cornette.
Well, that's since you guys are smarter than me as far as some of the inside stuff, who trained MJF?
Oh, I can tell you. Brian Myers.
Was
Where's
it
he
Myers?
out of?
Yeah.
Brian Myers and Pat Buck did. Brian Myers,
Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah,
Kurt Hawkins.
I don't know enough about him or the camp to understand how MJF is so strong on the kayfabe.
Yeah,
that's not taught anymore.
No, it's not. It is at Creative Pro Wrestling in New York. That's where Brian Myers and Pat Buck ran their school. They actually own it. So
okay,
MJF's gonna be the biggest star talked about for the next 25 years. Literally, this guy.
I'm on board with that.
10%. I love this kid.
Somebody's telling me, oh, you should cut this and this. I'm like, no, MJF already did it. I'm like, and they're like, who's MJF? And I sent them like, when MJF he cut a promo. Was it on Bret Hart?
Yes. when Brett was had the belt, was showing the belt for the first time.
Everybody should go watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Just go watch it. Come back to me.
Yep.
If you don't like MJF after that, then I don't. Whatever.
No,
Right.
it's funny. Jim Cornette always talks about. He's like, I think I have a kid. You know, back about 25 years ago. Oh, MJF makes sense.
That's funny.
Yeah, but is it his though? Because the cuckold. Never mind. No, we're not
Never
going
mind.
to
We're
get
Not interested in talking to you guys about that stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wrestling Paradox Podcast. Make sure you guys follow us, like, subscribe right here. Make sure you swallow us on Twitter at Podcast Paradox.
I do have to say, like you touched on it earlier, Joe. I'll tell Bo, we reached out to the wrestlers in CCW to get them to do interviews, and they were obliged. We have to send praise to you. You reached out to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we were so humbled that you did that to us. You're helping us out. Like you said, it's goes both ways, and everything. But it's much appreciated that you are seeing us in the light that we're giving to you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't often, and again, you should take that because I don't often do that, but I was like, man, because I used to do a podcast with one of my friends in California, and we did a motivational podcast. Mm-hmm. And so how you guys portrayed stuff, kind of pulled the curtain back, but also kept stuff somewhat kayfabe. And I think it just helps to talk about the brand. I think it helps interest and also character development. Like to be able to see Will Austin, to me, he's a natural heel because he is that way. He's still likable. Like I don't ever want to cast a shadow on who Will Austin is. He's great talent. He's likable in the locker room. But he's a true heel. Mm-hmm. Like what you get, that is him. And that's cool. I'm good with that. And he can go in the ring. And then Cha-Cha Charlie, there's a reason people like him. He's charisma. He's upbeat. And, like, you help capture that. So I was like, man, if they totally didn't even know who I was and couldn't even get a vibe off of me, A, I didn't do enough. And then B, let me just go talk. And
you're definitely going to be recognized after this show.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys giving me the platform for that.
Hey, no
definitely.
problem.
Will Austin, he's actually his show has the most views on our channel. It's over 2,000 views.
I think currently he has the biggest following.
I would have said Alex Ocean, so I'm sorry, but I would have said Alex Ocean.
Currently, you're correct. Right now, clout-wise, Alex Ocean is off the charts because he's the only one working. His work rate, I was asking one of my friends, he came to a recent we did something, and he's like, hey, that Alex Ocean guy looks like he's been in some death matches almost like 3 times a week. And I was like, LOL, that's exactly what he does. His back is just shredded. Like,
oh, yeah, dude.
And it was funny because my wrestling fan friend he's like, that explains that. I was like, so Alex comes to school, he still works out, he's still beat up. Like there's so much shrapnel still in that kid's body. It's you have to respect a guy like that because he's the epitome of a worker putting it on the line for you, the fans. And so I think it resonates with the deathmatch crowd for sure. And if you don't respect him in the ring, give him a chance to wrestle, like genuine, no weapons, the guy can go. And so I think his clout is well-deserved. Will Austin, obviously, when CCW had momentum before COVID, I think that's going to come back. And I think with the network that we're building and the guys that we're bringing in to work against all of us, it's only up from here. And I think you're going to see more of our roster and more names involved.
Awesome.
Very nice. How's it feel? I'm sorry, this question is not part of this, and we've been going a long time, but that's all right. I'm still go. How is it working alongside people like the Colognes right now? Primo and Epico. Like, how is that for you?
It's a cool story because without him even knowing anything about me, when he did come to visit, Epico did. And he looked at me. He's like, hey, I got ideas for you in Puerto Rico. He never saw me work in the ring or anything like that. So I'm like, cool. My look is getting me there. And then another time I exchanged phone numbers with him and he texted me. He's like, hey, what's our calendar looking like? I'm like, wait, aren't you with Pablo and Nelly? Like, I was like, why don't you text them?
If you can, because we're trying to get all the CCW guys that we can on the show.
You want Epico?
Please. Just, God. Please.
They're really humble guys. You learn a lot from anybody who's been on the road for 10 years. I mean, the best I could do is be like, hey, go talk to them. They're cool and they'll give you a platform.
I don't know if
about
we'll
you
ever
guys.
get it,
You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
fine. Like if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
never get it, that's cool.
Yeah.
But let me tell you
No.
something. They seem like two of the coolest dudes, and to know
They
that
really are. Like even backstage, they go over ideas and like not to pull the curtain back, but Summer Glory, I was just dying. Me and Ocean were dying watching him and Will. They were working on a spot, and Eddie goes, bro, I'm just trying to make it to the next town. And I had to walk away. I was like, that's
now
true. That's a
are they
veteran.
involved with the school a lot? Like,
We're-
do they come by? Because they're your tag team champions right now, right?
So I think they were going to be more involved. They definitely are tag champions, and they're very receptive to most of us talking to them. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see them still involved. I could probably text Eddie and be like, "Hey, when are we going to work?" and all that. And they're receptive, very, very humble, and man, they know so much stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and to know, I think it was Primo went up and trained the Undertaker before his last match, which is a hell of an honor for.
I was
him.
surprised to see that. That was awesome.
I said the same thing. I'm like,
I was like, wait a second, those guys were just here.
but my thing was, I was like, he was the Los Conquistador. Like, I mean, I'm like,
Like think about that call.
Yeah, exactly.
That phone call, I'd be like, Undertaker's calling me.
He wants me to do
Is this
what?
for like a 15-foot drop spot? Do I want to take this?
Who's calling me
wants me
from
to do
Death
what?
Valley?
Like, jeez,
I can only like, especially like, no offense to them because they're great guys, but like tier wise in our heads,
yeah, it didn't seem right when I saw it on the screen. I'm like,
it's awesome.
what?
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
100%, and that just shows the clout, not the clout, but the
humbleness
knowledge.
of Undertaker. Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
No, and that's the other thing too is like people, and I'm learning this more coming back into it. It literally is a network game too. Not so much politics as much anymore, but you look at it with AEW. Kingston got his shot, you know,
Dude,
and it's
the
guys that have worked.
greatest promo I've ever seen. Oh my!
Yeah, people went crazy. Man, we have been on this for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you have enough data space for this one? Sorry.
Yes, I do.
But no, it is the network thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm literally the reason I'm back wrestling is because Mercury got me in with Pablo, CCW. They're doing great things in Florida. They're doing great things in Nashville. There's talks about other cities, so watch out for that. There's more publicity coming for the brand, which should be impactful. And we got names coming in. So the ability to call us Sabu or the Colognes and just have them respect us enough to come in and work, that's awesome. So, you know, if you're a fan of the indies, it used to be NWA back in the day. I think now in Florida, it's going to be CCW.
Awesome.
As far as being able to get the guys, being respected, traveling. And if it wasn't that way, I don't think I'd stay trying to make this comeback, honestly. Like to be able to train 3 times a week, be in the ring 5 times a week, but truly train 3 times a week. It's a blessing for me as far as trying to pursue this one more time, and we'll see where it goes.
There you go. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is BoTayvian, man. Bo, what a great interview this was. I tell you, I
Appreciate
came
you
into this
guys.
not knowing a lot about you, man, and now I am excited to see you in Nashville live.
Yeah, so when and if I ever go heel, I'm going to cuss you out.
Fucking bring it. Bring it.
So this is so we discussed this for Summer Glory because you don't know, but I had a lot of my local, because I own a supplement store, a lot of my customers were anxious to see me work. They're like, wait, you pro wrestle? I'm like, well, I did, and now I'm coming back. So when we discussed this with Pablo, he's like, well, you have to be a face of all your friends. I was like, no, I'll tell them to cuss me out.
Yeah, that's.
There you go. I'll give you some fingers as you walk by.
They're going to wear my shirt, but cuss me out.
Exactly.
In fact, but isn't that not the new age fan? They wear your shirt and then they're in on it. Like they really are.
Exactly.
Like I wear a Jericho and I can't wait to see how he draws heat from Cassidy, like, or from the fans about it, you know? So,
speaking of shirts, what size shirt are you? Because every
double
wrestler comes
XL.
on here. Every wrestler comes on here gets a shirt. I am in the process of making our version 2 shirts, version 1.
Oh, there he goes again.
You're
there
gone.
he goes again. This guy, man. This fucking
I still got
guy.
your audio though, Joe. This time.
This is the version 1 shirt. It's gonna be the same logo, but
Yeah.
on the back now it's gonna say "Welcome to the Paradox."
Wait,
So,
I thought. Are you not hashtagging swallow us?
I
thought you
am,
were.
but I can't put that on a shirt. I can't
Thank
put
you.
that on a shirt.
Thank you.
No,
So
I,
yeah, double XL for me, and then what do you guys wear? Doubles?
I'm an extra large.
No,
Extra
I
large.
was a 3X. Now I'm an extra large.
Yep, 3X to XL,
All right,
baby.
We'll exchange details, and I still have some BoTayvian shirts.
Definitely.
So-
Yo,
so I got you.
Man, this has been awesome. Bo, thank you again for everything. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys follow BoTayvian on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Podcast Paradox. And make sure you guys follow us right here on YouTube. Follow, like, and subscribe. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate you coming out tonight. We appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Bo, you got any last words for these people?
Just be on the lookout for all the Florida indie guys. We are coming.
Awesome.
They are coming right for the top. I can't wait, man. This is
Bo,
gonna be a
yeah.
fun ride.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.